Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto turned Madara into woman in the war and married her? And subscribe if you enjoy the video. And also check the description. So let's begin the story. The battlefield was a hellscape of scorched earth and shattered stone. The Fourth Shinobi War had reached its crescendo, and at the center of the chaos stood Madara Uchiha, the legendary shinobi who had transcended death itself, now wielding the power of the Rinnegan and the Ten Tails. His presence alone seemed to darken the sky, his chakra so immense it made the very air tremble. Naruto Uzumaki stood opposite him, golden chakra of the Nine Tails flickering around his body like a living flame. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha's Susanoo crackled with purple energy, and beyond them, the remnants of the allied shinobi forces gathered for what might be their final stand. This ends now, Madara, Naruto shouted, his voice carrying across the devastated landscape. Your dream of the infinite Tsukuyomi. We won't let you trap everyone in an illusion. Madara's laugh was cold and ancient. You speak of dreams, boy, but you know nothing of the world's true nature. This reality is hell, an endless cycle of hatred and suffering. I will free everyone from it. He raised his hand, and the very fabric of space seemed to warp around him. Chibaku Tensei, massive chunks of earth tore free from the ground, rising toward a gravitational core that threatened to crush everything beneath it. The allied forces scattered, but the pull was immense, inescapable. Sasuke! Naruto called out. I know! Sasuke's Susanoo blazed brighter, its sword cutting through the ascending debris. But even his power was straining against Madara's technique. Naruto clasped his hands together, drawing out Kurama's chakra. The giant fox's form materialized around him, its 9 tails thrashing. Kurama, we need everything you've got. This bastard's power is on another level, Naruto, the fox's voice rumbled in his mind. But we didn't come this far to give up now. Together, they launched themselves forward, a blazing comet of orange chakra aimed directly at Madara. Sasuke's Susanoo followed, its blade drawn back for a devastating strike. It was their most powerful combination attack. Everything they had learned, everything they had become, focused into a single moment. Madara's eyes widened slightly, not with fear, but with interest. Yes. This is the spirit I wanted to see. Show me the strength of this generation. He met their assault head-on, his own chakra erupting like a dark star. The collision was apocalyptic. Light and shadow warred against each other, tearing rifts in the air itself. The sound was deafening, like the world itself was screaming. In that moment of absolute chaos, something unexpected happened. The ground beneath them shattered, and ancient seals, far older than the villages, older perhaps than the sage of Six Paths himself, began to glow with an eerie, purple light. They had been dormant for millennia, buried and forgotten beneath layers of earth and history. Naruto felt them first, a strange resonance with the chakra flowing through him. What the? Naruto, get back! Sasuke shouted, his Sharingan detecting the surge of unknown energy. But it was too late. The seals activated in a blinding flash, responding to the massive amount of chakra being unleashed above them. They weren't designed to be weapon or defense. They were something else entirely. Something ancient and inexplicable. Madara felt the change immediately. His body, which had been enhanced beyond human limits, which had absorbed the power of the Ten Tails and transcended mortality itself, suddenly felt wrong. The sensation was so alien, so completely unexpected, that for the first time in decades, genuine shock crossed his face. The light intensified, enveloping Madara completely. His scream wasn't one of pain, but of pure confusion. An emotion he hadn't experienced since he was a child. The chakra signatures around them went haywire. Sasuke's Sharingan couldn't track what was happening, and even Kurama fell silent in Naruto's mind, sensing something it had never encountered before. When the light faded, the battlefield fell silent. Madara Uchiha still stood where he had been, but everything about him had changed. The broad shoulders had narrowed, the angular features had softened, and the body that had been rebuilt to be the ultimate weapon now possessed distinctly feminine curves. Long, dark hair fell past her shoulders, no longer the wild mane but something more flowing, more elegant. The armor had adjusted to the new form, but there was no mistaking what had happened. Madara, now undeniably female, looked down at herself with an expression of absolute incomprehension. What? Her voice was different too, higher, though still carrying that same commanding tone. What is this? The battlefield remained frozen. Tens of thousands of shinobi stared in stunned silence. Even Sasuke, usually composed, stood with his mouth slightly open. Naruto had dropped out of his nine-tails form, landing on the ground with a heavy thud, staring at the transformed Uchiha legend. Did we just... Naruto couldn't even finish the sentence. Madara's hands moved to her face, her body, confirming what her senses were telling her. This wasn't an illusion or a transformation jutsu. It was real. On a fundamental, cellular level, she had been changed. The Rinnegan could see everything, and what it saw was impossible. What have you done? The roar carried across the battlefield, and even in her altered form, the killing intent was palpable enough to make veteran Jonin take involuntary steps backward. Naruto raised his hands defensively. I didn't do anything. That seal, I didn't even know it was there. Madara's Rinnegan eyes locked onto Naruto, and in that moment she felt it, a connection she hadn't noticed before. A thread of chakra, impossibly intricate, linking her to the boy. It pulsed with the seal's energy, tying them together in a way she couldn't immediately understand. You, she said, her voice dropping to something dangerous. This is your chakra. The seal has bound us. Before anyone could react, she vanished in a blur of speed, reappearing directly in front of Naruto. Her hand shot out, fingers wrapping around his throat and lifting him off the ground. The transformation hadn't weakened her at all. If anything, the rage made her more dangerous. Undo it, she demanded. Now. She can't breathe. Naruto choked out, clawing at her grip. Naruto! Sakura's voice rang out, and several shinobi rushed forward, but Sasuke held up a hand, stopping them. Wait, he said quietly. Look at her chakra. Those with sensory abilities focused, and they saw what Sasuke had noticed. Madara's chakra, which had been dark and overwhelming, now flickered uncertainly. The connection to the ten tails was severed. Whatever that seal had done, it had stripped away the power she had accumulated, leaving her still incredibly strong, but human again. Mortal. Madara felt it too. The immortality granted by the Edo Tensei and then by the Ten Tails, it was gone. For the first time since her resurrection, she could feel her heart beating rapidly in her chest, feel the burn of oxygen in her lungs, feel the weight of a truly living body. She was vulnerable. The realization must have shown on her face because Naruto, despite being held by the throat, managed to speak. You're scared. I am not, Madara began, but the denial died in her throat. The boy was right. For the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt genuine fear. Not of death, she had never feared that, but of this complete loss of control, this fundamental alteration of her very existence. She dropped Naruto, who fell to his knees gasping for air. Madara took a step back, her hands trembling slightly, something she quickly clenched into fists to hide. The seal, Sasuke said, approaching cautiously with his Sharingan active. I can see it. It's ancient, probably from before the time of the sage. It's rewritten your physical form on a genetic level and created a chakra bond with Naruto. Then break it, Madara demanded. Sasuke shook his head slowly. I don't think anyone can. This isn't normal Fuinjutsu. This is something else, something primal. It would take years just to understand how it works, let alone undo it. Unacceptable. Madara's chakra flared, but even she could feel how different it was now. Still vast, still powerful, but no longer the bottomless well it had been. Naruto had recovered enough to stand, rubbing his throat. Look, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean for this to happen. But maybe this is a chance? A chance? Madara's laugh was bitter. A chance for what, exactly? To stop fighting, Naruto said simply. You wanted to end suffering, right? To create a world of peace? Well, you're human again. Mortal, you could actually live in the peace you were trying to create instead of just forcing it on everyone. You know nothing of my goals, boy. I know you lost your brothers. I know you felt betrayed by Hashirama. I know you've been fighting for so long you forgot what you were fighting for in the first place. Naruto's blue eyes were earnest, that same quality that had reached so many others. But it doesn't have to be this way. You think you can talk me down? Madara's voice was dangerous. You think this changes anything? It changes everything, Kakashi said, appearing beside Naruto with several ANBU. You're no longer immortal, Madara. You can't access the Ten-Tails' power, and that seal has bound you to Naruto in a way we don't understand yet. The war is over. Madara looked around the battlefield. Thousands of shinobi surrounded her, weapons drawn, jutsus prepared. She could fight. She was still one of the strongest beings alive. But without her previous advantages, the outcome was uncertain. And more than that, she felt tired. So incredibly tired. It was an emotion she hadn't allowed herself to feel in decades. This isn't over, she said, but the conviction in her voice had wavered. It is, Naruto said firmly. And I'm not going to let you die here. We're going to figure out this seal thing, and we're going to find a better way. That's a promise. Your promises mean nothing to me. Then I'll make them mean something. Naruto stepped forward, extending his hand despite having just been choked by this woman moments ago. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I don't go back on my word. That's my ninja way. Madara stared at the extended hand like it was a foreign object. In her long life, few had ever offered her anything without expecting something in return. Most had feared her, fought her, or followed her out of respect for her power. This boy was offering something she hadn't experienced in so long she'd almost forgotten what it felt like. Basic human kindness. She didn't take his hand. Instead, she turned away, her new hair swishing with the movement. Do what you will. But know this, if I find a way to undo this seal and restore my power, I will complete my plan. This changes nothing about the fundamental truth of this world. Then I guess I'll just have to change your mind before that happens, Naruto said with a grin that seemed wildly inappropriate for the situation. Madara glanced back at him, and for just a moment, something flickered in those legendary eyes. Not warmth, not friendship, but perhaps the faintest hint of curiosity. This boy was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Possibly both. Secure her, Tsunade ordered, approaching with several medical needs. We need to understand what happened here, and what that seal has done. The ANBU moved to restrain Madara, chakra-suppressing seals at the ready. She didn't resist, though every instinct screamed at her to fight. But she was pragmatic above all else. This was not a battle she could win, not now. As they led her away, Naruto watched with a complicated expression. Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind. You realize you just promised to babysit the most dangerous person in history, right? She's not dangerous right now, Naruto replied mentally. She's confused and scared and probably feeling more vulnerable than she has in her entire life. And that makes her more dangerous, Kit. A cornered animal is always more unpredictable. She's not an animal. She's a person. And I meant what I said, I'm going to find a way to reach her. Why? Why do you care what happens to her? Naruto thought about that for a moment, watching as Madara disappeared into a containment unit. Because everyone deserves a chance at happiness. Even legends. Especially legends who've been fighting for so long they forgot what they were fighting for. Kurama sighed mentally. You and your damn empathy are going to get us killed one day. Probably, Naruto agreed with a small smile. But that's never stopped us before. 3 days later, Naruto found himself standing outside a sealed chamber in the depths of Konoha's intelligence division. Inside was Madara Uchiha, the legend who had nearly destroyed the world, now imprisoned and powerless in her new form. You sure you want to do this? Kakashi asked beside him. She's been difficult. Difficult how? She's refused to speak to anyone. Won't eat. Just sits there staring at the wall. The medical team says physically she's fine, but mentally. Kakashi shrugged. This has to be traumatic, even for someone like her. Naruto nodded. Through the seal that connected them, he could feel echoes of her emotional state. It was like a constant background noise in his mind, anger, confusion, and underneath it all, a profound sense of loss. Let me talk to her. Kakashi studied him for a long moment. The council isn't happy about you being involved with this. They want her executed. They can't execute her if I don't let them, Naruto said firmly. That seal connects us. If something happens to her, it could affect me too. It was partially true, though Naruto would have fought for her life regardless. He had seen enough death in the war. If there was a chance for redemption, even for someone like Madara, he had to try. Kakashi sighed. You're too kind for your own good sometimes. Alright, you have 30 minutes. We'll be monitoring everything. The door unsealed with a hiss of released pressure. Naruto stepped inside, and it sealed behind him with a heavy thud that seemed far too final. The chamber was small, austere, with walls covered in sealing formulas that suppressed chakra. In the center, sitting on a simple mat, was Madara. She had been given prison clothes, simple gray robes that were a far cry from her battle armor. Her long dark hair fell around her face, partially obscuring her expression. She didn't look up when Naruto entered. Hey, Naruto said, sitting down cross-legged a few feet away from her. How are you holding up? Silence. Yeah, I figured you wouldn't want to talk. That's okay. I can do enough talking for both of us. He smiled, though she couldn't see it. You know, this is kind of weird for me too. I mean, I spent months fighting you, preparing for the moment we'd have to face you. And now, well, this. Still no response. The council wants to execute you, Naruto continued, his voice becoming more serious. They think you're too dangerous to keep alive. They're probably right, honestly. But I told them no. That got a reaction. Madara's eyes, those legendary Rinnegan eyes that had terrified armies, slowly lifted to meet his gaze. Why? It was the first word she had spoken in 3 days, and even now, in this weakened state, her voice carried weight. Because everyone deserves a second chance, Naruto said simply. Even you. I don't want your pity, boy. Good, because I'm not offering pity. I'm offering a choice. Naruto leaned forward slightly. You can sit here, refuse to engage, and eventually the council will overrule me and you'll be executed. Or you can work with me to understand this seal and maybe, just maybe, find a way forward that doesn't end in your death. Madara's laugh was hollow. A way forward? Look at me. I am a shadow of what I was. Everything I worked for, everything I built, destroyed by a random seal activated by a child who didn't know what he was doing. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up, Naruto agreed, which earned him a sharp look. But here's the thing, you're alive. Really alive, probably for the first time in years. You can feel things again, right? Hunger, cold, fear? I do not fear. Yes, you do. I can feel it through the seal. Naruto tapped his chest. It's connected to both of us. Your emotions, they kind of bleed over sometimes. And right now you're terrified. Madara's jaw clenched. Being exposed like this, having her carefully constructed facade stripped away, was perhaps more violating than the physical transformation itself. The seal, she said after a long pause. What do you know about it? Not much, Naruto admitted. Sasuke's been researching it. Best guess is that it's some kind of ancient binding ritual, probably used by clans before the time of the sage. It transformed you and linked our chakra in a way that even the smartest people in the village don't fully understand. Can it be undone? Naruto hesitated. I don't know. Maybe? But it would take time. Years, probably. Years. Madara's hands clenched into fists. By then I'll be... What? Old? Human? Alive? Naruto shook his head. You're talking like that's a bad thing. For someone like me it is. I transcended humanity. I became something more. And now I'm reduced to this. She gestured at herself with disgust. You're reduced to being a person, Naruto corrected. And yeah, it's scary and uncomfortable and not what you wanted. But it's not the end. It could be a beginning. A beginning of what? I don't know. That's kind of up to you. Naruto stood up, preparing to leave. His 30 minutes were almost up. But I meant what I said on the battlefield. I'm going to help you through this, whether you want me to or not. That's just who I am. He walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and the medical team says you haven't been eating. You're human now, which means you need food. I'm going to bring you ramen tomorrow. It's the best thing in the world, and if you're going to be stuck here, you might as well enjoy something, right? For the first time, something that might have been the ghost of a smile flickered across Madara's face. It was gone in an instant, but Naruto saw it. Ramen, she repeated, as if testing the word. The legendary Naruto Uzumaki's solution to everything is ramen. Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Naruto grinned. Same time tomorrow? He left before she could respond, but through the seal, he felt something shift in her emotional state. The anger was still there, and the fear, but underneath it, there was now the smallest spark of something else. Curiosity. As Naruto walked away from the chamber, Kakashi fell into step beside him. Well? How did it go? She talked to me, Naruto said, and the smile on his face was genuine. It's a start. Naruto, you realize the impossible task you've set for yourself, right? That's Madara Uchiha. She orchestrated wars, manipulated entire nations, and nearly destroyed the world. You think you can just redeem her? Naruto thought about Gaara, once a monster consumed by hatred, now the Kazekage. He thought about Nagato, who had rained destruction on Konoha, but ultimately chose peace. He thought about Sasuke, his best friend who had walked the path of darkness and found his way back. Everyone's got a story, Naruto said quietly. Everyone's got reasons for who they became. And everyone deserves a chance to change, to be better. If I didn't believe that, what kind of Hokage would I be? Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. Not Hokage yet, Naruto, but someday. And when that day comes, I want to lead a village that believes in second chances. Even for legends. In her cell, Madara sat in the darkness, feeling the echo of Naruto's presence fade as he moved farther away. The connection between them was bizarre, uncomfortable, but also strangely comforting. For someone who had spent so long alone, even this unwanted bond was something. She looked down at her hands, smaller now, different, but still capable. The Rinnegan in her eyes could still see the flow of chakra, could still perceive the world in ways others couldn't. She was changed, but not broken. Diminished, but not destroyed. And tomorrow, apparently, she would try ramen. The thought was so absurd, so mundane, so completely divorced from the grandiose plans that had consumed her for decades, that she actually laughed. It was a short, bitter sound, but it was genuine. Maybe the boy was right. Maybe this was a beginning, or maybe it was just a different kind of end. Time would tell. But for the first time in a very long time, Madara Uchiha found herself curious about what tomorrow would bring. And in its own way, that was almost as transformative as the seal itself. The legend had fallen. But the person? The person was still there, buried under decades of war and pain and loss. And somehow, impossibly, a boy with a dream and an unshakable belief in redemption was going to try to reach her. This was going to be interesting. True to his word, Naruto arrived the next day carrying 2 steaming bowls of ramen from Ichiraku. The guards at the entrance to the containment facility gave him skeptical looks. But they'd received orders from the Hokage herself. Naruto Uzumaki was to have supervised access to the prisoner. You really think ramen is going to work on her? One of the guards asked. A scar-faced jonin named Rado. Ramen works on everyone, Naruto said with absolute confidence. It's scientifically proven. I don't think that's scientifically proven. Naruto repeated, already heading down the corridor. The seal on Madara's door hissed open, and Naruto entered with his usual energy, somehow balancing both bowls without spilling a drop. Good morning. I brought breakfast. Madara sat in the exact same position as yesterday, though Naruto noticed through the seal connection that she was less tense than before. She'd slept, at least a little, though her dreams had been turbulent enough that Naruto had woken up twice in the night with unexplained anxiety. I'm not hungry, Madara said flatly. Yeah, you said that yesterday to the medical team, and the day before that. But your stomach disagrees. Naruto sat down and placed one bowl in front of her. Trust me, you haven't lived until you've tried Ichiraku's miso ramen. Old man Tucci makes it special. Madara stared at the bowl like it might attack her. The steam rose in gentle curls, carrying the rich scent of broth, pork, and spices. Despite herself, her stomach growled audibly. Naruto grinned. See? Your body knows what's up. This is ridiculous, Madara muttered, but her hand moved almost involuntarily toward the chopsticks. She picked them up with the muscle memory of someone who had done this thousands of times, though it had been decades since she needed to eat. The first bite was a shock to her system. Flavor, real, genuine flavor, exploded across her tongue. In her Edo Tensei form, she hadn't needed food, hadn't tasted anything, and after becoming the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, such mortal concerns had been beneath her notice. But now, as a living, breathing human again, the simple act of eating was almost overwhelming. Naruto watched her carefully, slurping his own ramen with enthusiasm. Through their connection, he could feel the cascade of emotions, surprise, confusion, and underneath it all, something that might have been pleasure. Good, right? He said between bites. Madara didn't answer, but she took another bite. And then another. Within minutes the bowl was empty, and she was staring at it with an expression Naruto couldn't quite read. Want another one? I can grab more from the kitchen. They're keeping food ready for you, but you've been refusing it all. Why are you doing this? Madara asked suddenly, her Rinnegan eyes fixed on him with uncomfortable intensity. What do you gain from feeding me, from visiting me? I am your enemy. We're my enemy, Naruto corrected. And I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. You're a prisoner, yeah, but you're also a person. And people need food and company. I orchestrated a war that killed thousands. I tried to trap the entire world in an illusion. I nearly killed you specifically, multiple times. Madara's voice was hard, challenging. Yet you bring me ramen and smile like we're friends. We're not friends, Naruto agreed, finishing his own bowl. Not yet anyway. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let you starve or sit alone in the dark. That's not who I am. Then you're a fool, probably. Naruto's smile didn't fade. But I'm a fool who keeps his promises. And I promised to help you through this, so that's what I'm going to do. Madara leaned back against the wall, studying him with those ancient, powerful eyes. The seal, she said after a moment. I've been examining it. It's far more complex than I initially thought. Yeah? What did you find? It's not just a transformation jutsu or a binding seal. It's rewritten my entire existence on a fundamental level. My chakra, my body, even my soul, they've all been altered and connected to yours. She paused, and Naruto could feel her frustration through their bond. I can feel you, you know. Your emotions, sometimes your thoughts. It's intrusive. I can feel you too, Naruto admitted. Your anger, your fear, your confusion. It woke me up twice last night. Madara's expression flickered with something that might have been embarrassment. I didn't realize the connection worked both ways so strongly. We're basically roommates in each other's heads now, Naruto said with a shrug. Weird roommates who used to try to kill each other, but still. Despite herself, Madara's lips twitched. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was close. You have a strange way of looking at things. I've been told that before. Usually right before I prove everyone wrong about something. Naruto stood up, collecting the empty bowls. So, I've been thinking. You've been cooped up in here for 3 days. How would you feel about getting some fresh air? Madara's eyes narrowed. The village would never allow that. The village will allow whatever the future Hokage says they'll allow, Naruto said with more confidence than he felt. Besides, you're connected to me. If you try anything, I'll know before you even finish the thought. And you're not strong enough to take on the whole village anymore, right? It was a calculated risk, pointing out her vulnerability, but Madara appreciated directness. She considered for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Fresh air would be acceptable. Great. I'll talk to Kakashi-sensei and set it up. Oh, and we should probably get you some actual clothes instead of prison robes. What's your favorite color? Madara blinked, clearly not expecting that question. Red. Dark red like the Uchiha clan symbol, got it. Naruto grinned. I'll see what I can do. As he left the cell, Madara sat in silence, processing what had just happened. She had eaten. She had conversed. Actually conversed, not interrogated or threatened. And now she was apparently going to go outside and get new clothes. It was all so absurdly normal that it made her head spin. 2 days later, Naruto returned with a bundle of clothing under his arm and Kakashi trailing behind him, looking resigned. You owe me for this, Kakashi said quietly. The council nearly had a collective heart attack when I suggested letting her out, even under supervision. But you convinced them? I convinced Tsunade, and she convinced them. Barely. Kakashi's visible eye was serious. But Naruto, if this goes wrong, it won't, Naruto said firmly. Trust me. They entered Madara's cell to find her standing by the window. A small, barred opening that let in a single shaft of sunlight. She turned as they entered, her expression guarded. I brought clothes, Naruto said, offering the bundle. It's not exactly Uchiha armor, but it should be more comfortable than prison robes. Madara took the bundle, unfolding it to reveal a dark red tunic with black pants and a gray Hiyori jacket. Simple, practical, but well made. The colors were close to her old clan's traditional clothing. I'll need privacy to change, she said pointedly. Naruto's face went red. Oh. Right, yeah, of course. He practically bolted out of the room, Kakashi following with barely concealed amusement. You're handling this well, Kakashi commented once they were outside. Handling what? The fact that one of the most dangerous people in history is now a woman who you're connected to on a fundamental level. It's not exactly a normal situation, Naruto shrugged, though his face was still a bit pink. When has anything in my life been normal? I've got a giant fox demon sealed in my stomach. My best friend tried to destroy the village, and I've died and come back to life. This is just another Tuesday, really. Your definition of Tuesday concerns me. A few minutes later, Madara emerged wearing the new clothes. They fit well, and the dark colors suited her. Her long hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, revealing the sharp lines of her face. She looked less like a legendary villain and more like a person. A very attractive person, Naruto couldn't help but notice, which made him feel weird given their history. These are adequate, Madara said, which from her was probably high praise. Great. Ready to go outside? There will be conditions, Kakashi interjected. You'll wear chakra-suppressing seals, you'll stay within sight of Naruto at all times, and any hostile action will result in immediate return to your cell. Understood? Madara's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Understood. The chakra seals were applied by a nervous Fuinjutsu specialist, forming glowing bands around Madara's wrists. They didn't hurt, but Madara could feel her already diminished chakra being compressed even further. She was effectively a civilian now in terms of combat ability. The walk through the facility was tense. Guards watched from every corner, hands on weapons. Madara could feel their fear and hatred, emotions so strong they nearly drowned out her own. But she kept her face neutral, her posture proud despite her prisoner status. When they finally emerged into the sunlight, Madara stopped, closing her eyes and tilting her face upward. The sun's warmth on her skin, the gentle breeze, the smell of grass and trees, it was overwhelming. How long had it been since she'd experienced something this simple? Decades? Longer? Through their connection, Naruto felt the wave of emotion that crashed through her. It was so intense that he had to take a breath himself. You okay? He asked quietly. I'm fine, Madara said, but her voice was rougher than usual. She opened her eyes, taking in the sight of Konoha spread out below them. The village had grown since her time, sprawling and vibrant with life. It's changed. The village? Yeah, it's come a long way since your time. Since I helped burn it to the ground, you mean? Madara's tone was matter-of-fact, not apologetic, but not proud either. That too, Naruto admitted. They walked in silence for a while, following a path that led through a less populated area of the village. Kakashi maintained a discreet distance, close enough to intervene if necessary but far enough to give them space. Tell me about the seal, Madara said eventually. You said Sasuke was researching it. What has he found? Not much more than we already knew. It's old, really old. The symbols don't match any modern Fuinjutsu, and even Orochimaru. Naruto caught Madara's sharp look. Yeah, he's technically helping now. It's complicated. Even he hasn't seen anything like it, but there must be records. The Uchiha clan had extensive libraries, scrolls dating back centuries. Most of those were destroyed when Naruto trailed off uncomfortably. When the clan was massacred, Madara finished coldly. Yes, I'm aware. Itachi Uchiha, manipulated by Danzo and the village elders. Another casualty of the system I sought to destroy. It wasn't that simple. It never is. Madara stopped walking, turning to face Naruto directly. But that's the fundamental problem, isn't it? This world is built on systems that demand sacrifice. The strong prey on the weak, nations war for resources and pride, and children are turned into weapons. I sought to end that cycle, by trapping everyone in an illusion, Naruto countered. That's not saving them, that's just giving up on reality. And what is your solution? Talk? Friendship? Madara's voice was scathing. I've lived for over a century, boy. I've seen peace treaties signed and broken, alliances formed and shattered. The cycle always continues, because people like you keep perpetuating it. Naruto's voice rose with passion. Yeah, the world's messed up. Yeah, there's suffering and pain and loss, but you don't fix that by running away into a dream world. You fix it by facing it head on, by believing in people, by giving them a chance to be better. Naive, maybe. But my naive way has made more real change than your centuries of manipulation ever did. Naruto took a breath, calming himself. Look, I'm not saying the world is perfect. It's not, but it's real, and that matters. The connections we make, the pain we feel, the joy we experience, it all matters because it's genuine. Madara was quiet for a long moment, her Rinnegan eyes studying him with an intensity that would have made most people flinch. But Naruto met her gaze steadily. You remind me of him, she said finally, so quietly Naruto almost didn't hear. Of who? Hashirama. That same insufferable optimism, that same belief that words and will can overcome anything. Something painful flickered across her face. He was my closest friend once. And my greatest enemy. What happened between you two? Naruto asked carefully. I know the basic history, but not the personal stuff. Madara turned away, looking out over the village again. We were children during the Warring States period. Our clans were enemies, but we didn't know that when we met by a river, skipping stones and dreaming of a world without war. We became friends, best friends. We imagined building a village together, a place where children wouldn't have to die in battle. She paused, and Naruto waited, sensing this was important, but reality intervened, as it always does. My brothers died in the fighting. Hashirama's brothers died. And when our true identities were revealed, everything changed. We became enemies because that's what the world demanded of us. But you eventually made the village, Naruto said. Konoha was founded by the Uchiha and Senju together. Yes. After decades of bloodshed, after losing everyone we cared about, Hashirama and I finally achieved our childhood dream. We built Konoha. Madara's voice was bitter, and almost immediately, I realized it was flawed. The village system just concentrated the conflict, turned it inward. The Uchiha were segregated, suspected, eventually marked for elimination. The very system we built to prevent tragedy ensured it. So you decided to destroy it all. I decided to create something better. A world where loss and pain couldn't exist. Madara glanced at him. You call it running away. I call it evolution. But you'd be taking away people's choice, Naruto argued. Their ability to grow, to change, to overcome. Yeah, life is hard and painful sometimes, but that's what makes the good moments worth it. If everything is perfect all the time, nothing means anything. Spoken like someone who's never truly lost everything. I've lost plenty, Naruto said quietly. My parents, my godfather, my teacher, friends in the war. I know what loss feels like. But I also know that running from it doesn't help. You have to face it, feel it, and then find a way to keep moving forward. Madara wanted to argue, wanted to tear apart his idealistic worldview with centuries of experience and evidence. But she was tired, so desperately tired of fighting. And more than that, she could feel through their connection that Naruto genuinely believed every word he was saying. There was no deception, no manipulation, just honest conviction. It was refreshing and infuriating in equal measure. You're giving me a headache, she muttered. Naruto laughed. Yeah, I have that effect on people. Come on, there's something I want to show you. He led her to a memorial stone, a large monument engraved with names. Thousands of them, covering every surface. This is the memorial for everyone who died protecting Konoha, Naruto explained. My dad's name is here. Pervy Sage, Asuma-sensei, Niji, a lot of people I cared about. Why bring me here? Madara asked, her voice tight. Because I want you to understand something. These people died for something they believed in. Not an illusion, not a dream world, but for each other. For the village, for their friends, for the future. Their sacrifices were real and they mattered. You think this will make me repent? Madara's laugh was harsh. I've seen 1,000 monuments like this, each proclaiming the nobility of sacrifice. It changes nothing. I'm not trying to make you repent, Naruto said. I'm trying to make you see that there's another way. These people chose to fight, chose to sacrifice, because they believed in something bigger than themselves. That's not the same as being trapped in your infinite Tsukuyomi. Madara stared at the names, and despite her resistance, memories flooded back. Her brothers' names, carved in similar stones centuries ago. Izuna's face, bloody and dying, giving her his eyes so she could protect the clan. All the people she'd lost, all the reasons she'd convinced herself the world needed to be remade. Their sacrifices led to more sacrifices, she said quietly. An endless cycle, maybe. But cycles can be broken. It takes time and effort, and a lot of stubborn idiots who refuse to give up, but it can be done. Naruto placed a hand on the memorial stone. I'm going to be Hokage someday, and when I am, I'm going to create a world where sacrifices like these aren't necessary anymore. Not through illusions, but through real, lasting peace. Impossible. People keep telling me that. I keep proving them wrong. Naruto grinned at her. Just watch me. For the first time since her transformation, Madara felt something other than anger or fear or confusion. It was small, barely a flicker, but it was there. Hope. It terrified her. As the sun began to set, Kakashi approached them. We should head back. The council is already nervous about how long she's been out. Naruto nodded, though he felt Madara's reluctance through their bond. She didn't want to return to that small cell, to the darkness and isolation. Tomorrow, he said to her quietly. We'll do this again tomorrow, if you want. Why would I want that? Madara asked, but there was no bite to her words. Because being stuck inside sucks, and you're starting to enjoy these walks. I can feel it, remember? Madara's expression soured, but she didn't deny it. The seal is an invasion of privacy. Tell me about it. I woke up at 3 in the morning last night because you were having a nightmare about someone named Izuna. Madara stiffened, her eyes flashing dangerously. Don't speak of him. Your brother, right? The one who gave you his eyes? Naruto's voice softened. I saw flashes of it through the connection. I'm sorry. Losing someone you love like that. I can't imagine. Then don't try. Madara's walls slammed back up, her emotional state becoming carefully neutral. And stay out of my memories. I'm not trying to intrude. The seal does it automatically when we're close or when emotions are strong. Naruto sighed. Look, I know this is hard. Having someone connected to your mind, your feelings, it's invasive and uncomfortable. But maybe if we work together, we can figure out how to control it better. They walked back to the containment facility in silence. As the chakra-suppressing seals were reactivated to full strength and Madara was led back to her cell, she paused at the doorway. The ramen, she said without turning around. Bring it again tomorrow. Naruto smiled. You got it. As the door sealed behind her, Kakashi let out a long breath. Well, that went better than expected. No attempted escapes, no hostage situations, no property damage. See? I told you it would be fine. Naruto, you do realize what you're doing, right? Kakashi's voice was serious now. You're not just guarding a prisoner. You're trying to rehabilitate someone who's committed acts that most would consider unforgivable. The entire shinobi world wants her dead. I know. And you understand that if she does manage to escape, or if this goes wrong in any way, you'll be held responsible? I know that too. Naruto met his sensei's gaze steadily. But I also know that everyone deserves a chance at redemption. You taught me that, remember? You, who trained the person who killed your sensei. You, who never gave up on Sasuke even when everyone else did. Kakashi was quiet for a moment, then sighed. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You all just didn't notice because I was too busy pranking people and failing tests. Right. Well, your wisdom is going to be tested. The council wants to interview her tomorrow. They're going to try to use it as a trial. Naruto's expression hardened. They can't execute her. The seal makes it complicated, yes. But they'll still push for the harshest punishment possible. Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Be prepared. This is going to get harder before it gets easier. That night, Naruto lay in his apartment, staring at the ceiling. Through the seal, he could feel Madara's presence in the back of his mind, a constant reminder of their bizarre connection. She wasn't sleeping, just sitting in the darkness of her cell, thinking. Can you hear me? He thought, focusing on the connection. There was a pause, then her voice echoed in his mind, startled. How are you doing this? I don't know. I just thought at you, I guess? Naruto sat up in bed. Can you always hear my thoughts? No. Only when you project them deliberately, or when emotions are very strong. The same is true for you with my thoughts, I assume. Yeah. It's weird, right? It's intrusive and unnatural. But Madara's mental voice had less hostility than usual. But since we're apparently stuck with it, they were quiet for a moment, both adjusting to this new form of communication. The council meeting tomorrow, Naruto thought. They're going to try to condemn you. I expected as much. I killed many of their comrades and nearly destroyed their world. Execution is a reasonable response from their perspective. I won't let them kill you. Why not? Madara's question was genuinely curious. My death would solve many problems. It would give closure to those who lost loved ones in the war, eliminate a threat, and free you from this seal, eventually, because revenge doesn't solve anything. It just creates more pain, more hatred. And because... Naruto paused, trying to find the right words. Because I saw your memories. I felt your pain. I know why you did what you did, even if I don't agree with how you did it. You're not a monster. You're a person who's been in pain for so long you forgot how to be anything else. The silence stretched so long that Naruto thought maybe the connection had been severed. Then, finally, Madara's voice came back, quieter than before. My brother died in my arms. He gave me his eyes with his last breath, begging me to protect our clan. I spent decades trying to fulfill that promise, and I failed. The Uchiha were wiped out, slaughtered by one of their own on orders from the village I helped create. Every sacrifice, every compromise, every terrible thing I did, it was all for nothing. It wasn't for nothing, Naruto said. Sasuke is still alive. The Uchiha legacy continues through him. And through you now. I'm not an Uchiha anymore. I don't know what I am. You're Madara. That's enough. He felt something through the connection. Not quite gratitude, not quite relief, but something warm and vulnerable that Madara had probably not felt in a very long time. Get some sleep, boy, she thought at him. Tomorrow will be difficult, for both of us. Try to rest too, okay? I don't need your concern. Too bad you're getting it anyway. That's what this seal means. We're stuck with each other. Might as well make the best of it. He felt what might have been a mental laugh. Then the connection faded to its usual background hum. Naruto settled back into bed, a small smile on his face. It was strange, developing a connection with someone who had tried to kill him and everyone he loved. But if his life had taught him anything, it was that people could change, that bonds could form in the most unexpected circumstances, and that giving up on someone was never the answer. Tomorrow would bring challenges, the council, the trial, the weight of the village's grief and anger. But tonight, for the first time, Naruto felt like they might actually have a chance at something resembling understanding. And in her cell, Madara sat in the darkness, one hand pressed against her chest where she could feel the pulse of the seal connecting her to Naruto. It was foreign, uncomfortable, and binding in ways she couldn't yet fully understand. But it was also, for someone who had been alone for so very long, almost comforting. She didn't sleep that night, but for once, it wasn't nightmares that kept her awake. It was possibility. The council chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from every major clan sat in tiered rows, their faces grave and unforgiving. At the head of the room sat Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, flanked by her advisors Hamura and Koharu. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a kunai. Naruto stood near the entrance, his hands clenched into fists. He'd been allowed to attend but not to speak unless called upon, a restriction that was already testing his patience. When Madara was brought in, the room fell silent. She wore chakra-suppressing cuffs on both wrists and ankles, connected by chains that clinked with each step. 4A and Bu surrounded her, hands ready on their weapons. Despite the restraints and the hostile stares of dozens of powerful shinobi, Madara walked with her head high, her expression imperious. She was still dangerous, the room seemed to collectively realize. Even diminished, even transformed, even chained, there was something in her bearing that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. Madara Uchiha, Tsunade's voice rang out, formal and cold. You stand before this council to answer for crimes committed against the allied shinobi forces and the shinobi world as a whole. The charges include conspiracy to commit mass murder, acts of terrorism, resurrection of forbidden techniques, attempted genocide through the infinite Tsukuyami, and countless individual murders spanning decades. How do you plead? Madara's laugh was sharp and bitter. You expect me to plead? To beg for mercy from a system I sought to destroy. She looked around the room, her Rinnegan eyes seeming to pierce each person present. I did what I did with full awareness and intent. I make no apologies. Murmurs of anger rippled through the council. One of the Konoha Jonin, a man who'd lost his entire squad in the war, stood abruptly. Then you admit you deserve execution? I admit nothing except the truth of my actions, Madara replied calmly. Whether I deserve death is for you to decide. But understand this. I pursued the infinite Tsukuyami not out of cruelty, but to end the very suffering that fills this room. Every person here has lost someone to this world's endless cycle of hatred. I sought to end that cycle permanently, by enslaving everyone. Another council member shouted. By giving everyone peace, Madara corrected. But I failed. The seal that transformed me has stripped away my power and bound me to the boy. She glanced at Naruto. So here I stand, at your mercy, awaiting whatever judgment you believe is just. Tsunade held up a hand for silence. The council has reviewed your case extensively. The evidence against you is overwhelming. However, there is the complication of the seal that binds you to Naruto Uzumaki. She nodded to Sasuke, who stepped forward carrying several scrolls. His Sharingan was active, reflecting the seriousness of what he was about to present. I've spent the past week researching the seal, Sasuke began, unrolling one of the scrolls to reveal complex Fuinjutsu diagrams. It's unlike anything in our current records. The closest match I've found is in fragments of presage of 6 pads texts, rituals from the era when chakra was first being understood by humans. He pointed to specific symbols. The seal has done 3 things. First, it's completely rewritten Madara's physical form on a genetic level. This isn't a transformation jutsu that can be dispelled, it's permanent alteration. Second, it severed her connection to the Ten Tails and stripped away her Edo Tensei immortality, making her fully mortal again. Third, and most critically, it's created what I can only describe as a chakra symbiosis with Naruto. Meaning? Hamura asked sharply. Meaning their life forces are now intertwined, Sasuke explained. If Madara dies, there's a high probability that Naruto will suffer severe chakra backlash, possibly fatal. The seal seems designed to ensure the survival of both parties. The room erupted in arguments. Some demanded they risk it anyway. Others insisted they couldn't endanger Naruto. Still others suggested keeping Madara imprisoned forever. Through it all, Naruto felt Madara's emotions through their bond. She was projecting calm, but underneath he could sense resignation, a weary acceptance of whatever fate awaited her. It made him angry. Can I speak? Naruto called out, stepping forward without waiting for permission. Tsunade sighed. Naruto, no, I need to say this. He moved to stand beside Madara, ignoring the way the ANBU tensed. Everyone here wants revenge. I get it. I lost people too in the war. But killing Madara won't bring them back. It won't end the cycle of hatred, it'll just continue it. She's a mass murderer. Someone shouted. She is, Naruto agreed. But she's also a person who's been fighting for so long she forgot what she was fighting for. I've seen her memories through the seal. I've felt her pain. She lost her brothers, her best friend, her entire clan. She spent a century trying to create peace and watched everything she built fall apart. That doesn't excuse. I'm not saying it excuses anything. Naruto's voice rose with passion. I'm saying that if we execute her, we become exactly what she thought we were. A system that only knows how to respond to violence with more violence. We have a chance here to do something different, to show that redemption is possible even for someone like her. Madara turned to look at him, something unreadable in her expression. The seal has given us an opportunity, Naruto continued. She's mortal now, vulnerable, connected to me in a way that means I'll know if she tries anything. Let me take responsibility for her. Let me prove that people can change. And if she doesn't change? Tsunade asked quietly. If she escapes, or manipulates you, or finds a way to regain her power? How many more people will die? Then I'll stop her myself, Naruto said firmly. But I don't believe it'll come to that. Give her a chance. Give me a chance to reach her. The council deliberated for hours. Naruto and Madara were escorted to a waiting room while the debate raged. They sat in silence, the weight of the decision hanging over them. You didn't have to do that, Madara said finally. Yes, I did. Why? What do you gain from defending me? Naruto thought about it for a moment. Because everyone told me Gaara couldn't be saved, that he was too far gone. They said the same thing about Sasuke, about Nagato, about a lot of people, and every time, they were wrong. If I give up on you, if I let them execute you without trying, then I'm admitting that some people are beyond redemption. And I can't accept that. Your optimism will get you killed someday, maybe. But I'd rather die trying to save people than live having given up on them. Madara was quiet for a long moment. You truly believe I can be redeemed? After everything I've done? I believe everyone deserves the chance to try. Naruto met her gaze. The question is, do you want to try? Before Madara could answer, the door opened and a guard beckoned them back. The council chamber was quieter now, though no less tense. Tsunade looked exhausted, like she'd aged years in the past few hours. The council has reached a decision, she announced. Madara Uchiha, you are hereby sentenced to indefinite imprisonment with the following conditions. You will remain under the direct supervision of Naruto Uzumaki at all times. You will wear chakra-suppressing seals that will only be removed under controlled circumstances. You will submit to regular monitoring by our intelligence division. Any violation of these terms, any attempt to escape or cause harm, will result in immediate execution, consequences to Naruto notwithstanding. She paused, her eyes boring into Madara. However, if you demonstrate genuine rehabilitation over time, this sentence may be reconsidered. You will be given the opportunity to earn your freedom through service and proven change. This is more mercy than you deserve, and it is granted solely because of Naruto's advocacy and the complications of the seal. Madara stood silently, processing this. She had expected death, had been prepared for it. This was worse in some ways. It meant hope, possibility, the burden of living and trying to change. It meant accountability. Do you accept these terms? Tsunade asked. Do I have a choice? You can choose execution if you prefer. Madara glanced at Naruto, who was watching her with those impossibly earnest blue eyes. He really believed in her. The fool actually thought she could become something other than what she was. Maybe it was time to find out if he was right. I accept, she said quietly. The house was small but comfortable, located on the outskirts of Konoha where Madara could be monitored without being in the middle of the village. It had 2 bedrooms, a common area, and a small yard surrounded by privacy seals. It was, Naruto explained, a safe house used for protective custody situations. It's not much, Naruto said, carrying in a box of supplies. But it's better than a cell, right? Madara walked through the space slowly, taking in the simple furniture, the clean walls, the window that actually opened. It's adequate. High praise from the legendary Madara Uchiha, Naruto said with a grin. Your room is on the left. I'm on the right. Kitchen stocked, bathrooms through there. And there's a training area in the back if we get permission for you to use it. We're living together? Madara asked, one eyebrow raised. The council was pretty clear about the constant supervision thing. Besides, with the seal connection, it's not like we can get away from each other anyway. Naruto set down the box. We'll make it work. I'm a pretty good roommate actually. I clean up after myself mostly, I'm not too loud, and I make decent instant ramen. Your standards for adequate living conditions are concerningly low. Yeah, well, I grew up in a tiny apartment eating expired instant ramen, and being ignored by most of the village. This is actually a step up for me. Naruto's tone was light, but Madara caught the underlying pain. Because of the 9 tails, she said. It wasn't a question. Because of Kurama, yeah? People saw me as the fox that attacked the village, not as the kid who had it sealed inside him against his will. He shrugged. It's fine now. Most people came around eventually. Madara considered this. The Jinchuriki of my time were treated similarly. Tools to be used, monsters to be feared. I had hoped the system would evolve beyond such treatment. It's getting better. Slowly. Naruto started unpacking the box, pulling out dishes and food. Bisen and Gaara are respected as leaders now, not just as weapons. Change is happening. Yet you were still ostracized as a child. Yeah, but I didn't let it make me bitter. I decided I'd become Hokage and make everyone acknowledge me instead. He grinned. Worked out pretty well so far. Madara found herself almost smiling at his audacity. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. I keep telling people, it's both. As evening fell, they settled into an awkward routine. Naruto made dinner. Nothing fancy, just rice, fish, and vegetables. While Madara sat at the table, still adjusting to the strangeness of domestic life. When had she last done something as mundane as eating dinner with someone? So, Naruto said, setting plates down. We should probably set some ground rules for living together. Rules? Yeah, like... I don't know, basic stuff. Respect each other's privacy, clean up after ourselves, no trying to take over the world before breakfast. He said the last part with a completely straight face. Madara's lips twitched. Your humor is absurd, but you almost smiled, so it's working. Naruto took a bite of rice. Seriously though, we're going to be spending a lot of time together. We should probably try to get along. We're prisoner and guard. There's no requirement to get along. Maybe not, but it'll make things easier. Besides, with the seal connection, your mood affects mine and vice versa. If you're miserable all the time, I'm going to feel it. That was true, and Madara knew it. Even now, she could sense Naruto's emotional state, a mixture of hope, nervousness, and determination. It was exhausting being connected to someone so relentlessly optimistic. Fine, she said. Ground rules. I require solitude for meditation. I don't appreciate loud noises, especially in the morning. And I will not tolerate attempts to cheer me up with forced social activities. Got it. Quiet in the morning, give you space, no forced fun. Naruto nodded seriously. My turn. I talk to myself sometimes when I'm thinking through things, so don't be alarmed by that. I tend to get up early for training. And I will occasionally invite friends over because I'm not going to become a hermit just because we're living together. Madara tensed. I don't want to see people. You're going to have to eventually. Part of rehabilitation is reintegrating with society. Naruto's voice was gentle but firm. But we'll start small. Maybe just Sasuke or Kakashi-sensei at first, people who won't immediately try to kill you. How reassuring. They ate in silence for a while. Through the window, Madara could see the sun setting over Konoha, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. It was beautiful in a way she'd forgotten to notice over the decades. Can I ask you something? Naruto said eventually. You're going to regardless of my answer. True. He set down his chopsticks. What was Hashirama really like? Not the legendary first Hokage everyone talks about, but the actual person you knew. Madara was silent for so long that Naruto thought she might not answer. Then, quietly, he was an idiot. Brilliant, powerful, and absolutely convinced that he could talk anyone into seeing his perspective. She paused. He laughed constantly, even at inappropriate times. He cried just as easily. I once saw him weep over an injured rabbit. He was everything a warrior shouldn't be, and yet he was the strongest person I've ever known. He sounds like someone I would have liked. You would have. You're distressingly similar. Madara looked at Naruto directly. He also betrayed me, chose the village over our friendship, and created a system that ultimately led to the destruction of everything we built together. Or, Naruto suggested carefully, maybe he tried his best with an impossible situation and made choices he thought were right, even when they hurt. Are you defending him to me? I'm saying that maybe things aren't as black and white as you think. Maybe he didn't betray you. Maybe you both just wanted different things and didn't know how to reconcile them. Madara's chakra flared with anger, and Naruto felt it like a physical wave through their connection. But then, deliberately, she pulled it back, calming herself. You're infuriating, she said. I've been told that a lot today. Naruto grinned. But you're thinking about it, which means I'm getting through. Don't be so certain of that. After dinner, Naruto showed Madara the meditation room he'd set up in one of the spare spaces. A small area with cushions, minimal furniture, and ceiling arrays that dampened outside noise and chakra signatures. I figured you'd want somewhere to think without me accidentally broadcasting my feelings at you through the seal, he explained. Madara examined the seals, impressed despite herself. These are well crafted. Who designed them? Kakashi-sensei helped, but I did most of it. I've been studying Fuinjutsu since the war. Thought it might help us understand the seal better. Show me what you've learned. For the next hour, they sat together going over seal theory and design. Madara's expertise far exceeded Naruto's, but she found his approach interesting, intuitive rather than technical, creative rather than traditional. He made connections she wouldn't have considered, viewing seals as living things rather than static formulas. You have potential, she admitted grudgingly. With proper training you could become quite skilled. Are you offering to teach me? Naruto asked, surprised. Madara paused. Was she? The thought had emerged without conscious intent, a natural extension of their discussion. But teaching implied a relationship beyond prisoner and guard, implied investment in his growth. I'm offering to correct your glaring mistakes so you don't accidentally kill us both with sloppy seal work, she said instead. I'll take it. Naruto's grin was luminous. This is great. We can work on understanding the seal together, and maybe find ways to control the connection better. That would be acceptable. As night deepened, Naruto retreated to his room, leaving Madara alone for the first time since the trial. She stood by the window of her bedroom, looking out at the village lights twinkling in the darkness. This was her cage now, comfortable, but still a cage, and yet, she reached out through the seal connection, feeling Naruto's presence in the next room. He was reading something, his emotional state calm and content. The connection was strange, but not entirely unpleasant. It was like having a companion after decades of isolation, even if that companion was an unwilling one. Can you hear me? She projected through the seal, testing. There was a moment of surprise then. Yeah. You're getting better at this. What's up? I wanted to. Madara paused, uncertain. What did she want? Thank you. For speaking on my behalf to the council. You gained nothing from it. I gained a roommate who's going to teach me advanced Fuinjutsu, Naruto thought back, his mental voice warm with humor. That's pretty valuable. You know what I mean. I do. And you're welcome. There was a pause. Get some rest, okay? Tomorrow we start figuring out how to make this work. Naruto? Yeah? Why do you care? Truly. Not the idealistic speech about redemption, the real reason. The silence stretched for a moment, and Madara felt his emotions through the seal, a complex mixture of empathy, sadness, and determination. Because I know what it's like to be alone, he finally answered. To have everyone look at you like you're a monster, to lose people you care about, to be so angry at the world you want to burn it all down. I could have become like you, Madara. The only difference is that people gave me chances. Iruka-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, my friends. They saw something in me worth saving, so now I try to see that in others, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Madara felt something crack inside her chest, a wall she'd built brick by brick over decades suddenly developing fissures. You're a fool, she sent back. But there was no venom in it. Yeah, but I'm your fool now. We're stuck together, remember? Don't remind me. She felt his mental laugh. Then the connection settled back into its normal background hum. Madara sat on the edge of her bed, a real bed, soft and comfortable. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, she didn't feel entirely alone. It was terrifying and comforting in equal measure. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a routine. Naruto would wake early for training, careful to be quiet as he'd promised. Madara would rise shortly after, meditating in her room while the sun came up. They'd have breakfast together, then spend the morning working on seal research in the study Naruto had set up. Madara proved to be an exacting but effective teacher. She didn't coddle or praise unnecessarily, but when Naruto successfully completed a complex seal array, she would nod with what might have been approval. In turn, Naruto's unconventional approach to problems sometimes yielded insights that even Madara hadn't considered. "You think like a child," she told him one morning, watching him rearrange seal components in a pattern that violated traditional theory but somehow worked. "I'll take that as a compliment. It wasn't meant as one, but..." She studied his work. Perhaps there's value in not being constrained by conventional wisdom. Afternoons were for supervised outings. At first, they only walked the perimeter of their compound, but gradually Naruto pushed for more. Short trips into less populated areas of the village, always with ANBU's shadow guards, always ready for hostility. The first time someone recognized Madara, it didn't go well. "You!" A middle-aged woman had stopped in her tracks, her face going pale then flushing with rage. "You killed my son! He died fighting your war." Madara had frozen, her default response building, defiance, dismissal, the armor of arrogance she'd worn for decades. But through the seal, she felt Naruto's immediate empathy and concern, not for her, but for the grieving mother. "I'm sorry for your loss," Madara heard herself say, the words feeling strange in her mouth. "Sorry?" The woman's voice broke. "Sorry doesn't bring him back. Sorry doesn't." She collapsed into tears, and other villagers rushed to comfort her, shooting Madara looks of pure hatred. They'd left quickly after that, Naruto supporting Madara's arm as they walked back. Through their connection, he felt the storm of emotions she was suppressing: guilt, shame, anger at herself for feeling guilty, confusion at feeling anything at all. "That was hard," Naruto said once they were safely home. "I've faced worse than an angry civilian. I don't mean hard in terms of danger. I mean emotionally hard. Facing the real consequences of your actions, seeing the people you hurt." He sat down heavily. That was someone's son who died. Someone's brother, maybe someone's father. A real person with a name and a life and people who loved him. "I'm aware of what death means," Madara said coldly. "Are you though? When you're planning on a scale of nations and centuries, do individual lives really register? Or are they just numbers, acceptable losses for a greater goal?" Madara wanted to snap back, to defend her perspective, but the woman's face kept flashing in her mind. The genuine, devastating grief, multiplied by thousands, by tens of thousands, all the people who had died because of choices she'd made. "I never sought to cause suffering for its own sake," she said quietly. "The infinite Tsukuyomi was meant to end all suffering permanently, but it would have taken away people's choice. Their ability to live real lives, make real connections, experience real growth." Naruto's voice was gentle but firm. "That woman's son chose to fight. Yeah, he died, and that's tragic, but he made that choice. In your perfect world, no one would have choice at all. They'd just be, asleep, dreaming whatever you decided they should dream. Better to dream of happiness than to live in suffering." "You say that, but I don't think you really believe it anymore." Naruto looked at her directly. "If you truly thought that, you wouldn't have looked so shaken by that woman's grief. You're starting to see them as people, not just obstacles to your plan." Madara stood abruptly, pacing to the window. "Don't presume to know what I think or feel. I don't have to presume. The seal connection makes it pretty obvious. Then you know I want you to stop talking." "Yeah, I know. But I also know you need to hear this." Naruto stood too, moving closer. "Change is uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. If it was easy, everyone would do it. The fact that you're struggling, that you're feeling conflicted, that's actually a good sign. A good sign that I'm becoming weak. No, a good sign that you're becoming human again." They stood in tense silence, the seal connecting them pulsing with the complexity of their emotions. Naruto's patient determination and Madara's confused vulnerability. "I don't know how to be what you want me to be," Madara finally admitted, the words barely above a whisper. "I've been fighting for so long, working toward a single goal for decades. Without that, I'm lost." "Then we'll figure it out together," Naruto said simply. "You don't have to know all the answers right now. We'll take it one day at a time." "You make it sound simple." "It's not. It's probably going to be the hardest thing you've ever done." Naruto smiled slightly. "But I think you're up for it." That night, as Madara meditated in her room, she found herself drifting into memory. The seal seemed to amplify it, pulling her backward through time. She was young again, standing by a river with Hashirama. They were skipping stones, competing to see who could make theirs jump the most times. 12. Hashirama crowed as his stone bounded across the water. Beat that, Madara. Child's play, young Madara replied, selecting her stone carefully. She threw it with perfect precision, 14 skips before it sank. No fair, you have better chakra control. That's because I actually practice instead of napping under trees, they argued good-naturedly, as they always did, before settling on the riverbank to watch the water flow. They talked about their dreams. A village where children wouldn't have to fight, where clans could live together in peace, where no one would have to watch their siblings die in pointless wars. We'll build it together, Hashirama had said, his eyes alight with vision. You and me, Madara. We'll change the world. Together, young Madara had agreed, believing it with all her heart. The memory shifted. She was older now, standing before the completed gates of Konoha. Hashirama beside her, both of them looking at what they'd built. It should have been a moment of triumph, but Madara felt only unease. The village structure they'd agreed upon was already showing cracks. The Uchiha were being pushed to the margins, whispered about, feared. Trust the system, Hashirama had said. Give it time to work, the system is flawed from the start. You're asking the Uchiha to submit to leadership that fears them. I don't fear them. I fear what suspicion and isolation will create. Hashirama's face was troubled. Please, Madara. We've come so far. Don't give up now. But she had given up. Or rather, she'd chosen a different path, one that led through darkness, manipulation, and eventually, the war that had brought her here. The memory released her, and Madara found herself back in the present, her face wet with tears she didn't remember crying. Through the seal, she felt Naruto stir in the next room, awakened by the intensity of her emotions. You okay? His thought came, concerned and sleepy. I'm fine. Go back to sleep. You're remembering things. About Hashirama. Stay out of my memories. I'm not trying to intrude. The seal is doing it automatically when your emotions are this strong. There was a pause. Do you want to talk about it? No, but she did. Desperately. After decades of holding everything inside, of having no one who understood or cared, part of her wanted to pour everything out, all the pain, regret, confusion, and loss that had accumulated over a century of fighting. Okay, Naruto's thought came back. But I'm here if you change your mind. And Madara? Whatever you're feeling right now, guilt, grief, regret, that means you're healing. It hurts, but it's necessary. You sound like a very annoying therapist. I'll take that as a compliment. She felt his mental presence warm with gentle humor. Try to get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day. After he withdrew, Madara sat in the darkness, thinking about everything that had happened. A month ago, she had been a god, untouchable and unstoppable, pursuing a plan decades in the making. Now she was... what? A prisoner? A student? A person trying to figure out who she was when stripped of power and purpose? She looked down at her hands, female hands, smaller than what she'd been accustomed to for most of her life, but still capable. The Rinnegan in her eyes could still see the flow of chakra in the world. She was changed, but not destroyed. Diminished, but not broken. And tomorrow, she would wake up and face another day. She would study seals with Naruto, perhaps venture out into the village again, maybe face more people she'd hurt. It would be uncomfortable and painful and nothing like the existence she'd known for decades. But it would be real. And perhaps, after so long living in plans and schemes and dreams of a perfect world, reality was exactly what she needed. She settled onto her bed, and for the first time since her transformation, she felt something approaching peace. Not happiness, not contentment. She was far from either of those, but peace. The quiet acceptance that maybe, just maybe, this unexpected path wasn't the worst thing that could have happened. Through the wall, she could feel Naruto's sleeping presence, steady and warm. Their connection pulsed gently, a constant reminder that she wasn't alone anymore. It was strange. It was uncomfortable. It was binding in ways she still didn't fully understand. But tonight, it was also something resembling comfort. And that, Madara realized with surprise, was more than she'd had in a very long time. 3 months had passed since Madara's sentencing, and the arrangement was becoming more complicated by the day, not because of escape attempts or violence, Madara had been surprisingly compliant with the terms of her imprisonment, but because the village itself was growing restless, Naruto saw it in the way people whispered when they passed. In the petitions that kept arriving at the Hokage's office demanding Madara's execution, in the way shop owners would refuse to sell to them, or how conversations would stop abruptly when they entered a room. "We need supplies," Naruto said one morning, looking at their dwindling food stores. "I'm going to head to the market." Madara looked up from the sealed diagram she was studying. "I'll accompany you." "You sure? Last time didn't go so well. I can't hide in this house forever. Part of my sentence is reintegration with society." Her expression was carefully neutral, but through the seal, Naruto felt her anxiety. Besides, the chakra-suppressing seals need to be recharged. "I have an appointment with the intelligence division." "All right. Let me grab my jacket." The walk through Konoha was tense from the start. People moved out of their way, not out of respect, but out of a mixture of fear and disgust. A group of young shinobi, fresh from the academy, stopped to stare openly. "That's her," one whispered, not quite quietly enough. "The one who started the war. I heard she killed thousands of people. My sensei says she should have been executed months ago." Madara's stride didn't falter, but Naruto felt the spike of shame through their connection, quickly buried under layers of defensive pride. "Ignore them," he said quietly. "I am." They reached the market district, and things got worse. The usual morning bustle seemed to quiet as they passed. Merchants found sudden reasons to close their stalls. One vegetable seller actually turned his back entirely rather than serve them. "We don't serve murderers here," the man said loudly. "Take your blood money elsewhere." "We're just trying to buy food," Naruto said, his voice strained with patience. "And my son was just trying to defend his village before she killed him." The man's face was red with rage. "You want to play house with that monster, that's your business. But don't expect us to make it easy for you." A crowd was gathering, and Naruto could feel the mood turning ugly. Several people were nodding in agreement, their faces hard. One woman actually spat on the ground near Madara's feet. "Maybe we should go," Naruto said quietly. "No." Madara's voice was firm. She turned to address the crowd, her Rinnegan eyes sweeping over them. "You're right to hate me. I orchestrated a war that killed your loved ones. I pursued a goal that would have stripped away your freedom. I make no excuses for my actions." The crowd seemed taken aback by her directness. They had expected defiance or dismissal, not acknowledgement. "But I am here, under guard and under seal, serving the sentence your council imposed. If you wish to change that sentence, petition the Hokage. But while I walk these streets, I will do so with dignity, and I will not apologize for continuing to exist." "Dignity?" someone shouted. "You talk about dignity after what you did." "I do. Because despite everything, I am still a person. Diminished, perhaps. Changed, certainly. But still deserving of basic respect as a living being." Madara's voice was level, commanding even without chakra to back it up. "Your hatred is justified. Your grief is real. But making my existence as miserable as possible will not bring your dead back to life." The silence that followed was heavy with tension. Then, unexpectedly, an elderly woman stepped forward from the crowd. Naruto recognized her. She ran a tea shop near the academy. "My grandson died in the war," she said, her voice wavering but strong. "He was only 16. Barely more than a child." She looked at Madara directly. "I wanted you dead. For months, I prayed for it. But then I thought, what would Kenji want? Would he want me consumed by hatred? Would he want the village to tear itself apart over vengeance?" She shook her head slowly. "I don't forgive you. I probably never will. But I won't add to the cycle of hatred that took my grandson from me." She turned to the other merchants. "Sell them their food. Show them we're better than the monsters we fight." There was grumbling, but the crowd slowly began to disperse. The vegetable seller from before reluctantly began weighing produce, though his hands shook with suppressed anger. As they walked away with their purchases, Madara was uncharacteristically quiet. Naruto could feel the turmoil through their connection, guilt, surprise, something that might have been gratitude. "That was brave," Naruto said. "What you did back there. It was necessary. I can't hide from the consequences of my actions. Still, standing there and admitting fault to an angry crowd? That takes guts. Madara glanced at him. You're surprised I have courage? No, I'm surprised you have humility. Big difference. They arrived at the intelligence division for Madara's appointment. The building was nondescript, but the security was intense. Multiple layers of barriers, guard posts, and surveillance seals. Madara was led to a sealed chamber while Naruto waited outside. Ibiki Marino, the head of intelligence, was waiting inside. His scarred face was impassive as he gestured for Madara to sit. Standard monthly evaluation, he said, pulling out a scroll. How are you adjusting to your current situation? As well as can be expected, given I'm a prisoner. Any thoughts of escape? Plans to regain your former power? Resentment toward your guard? No, and complicated. Madara met his gaze steadily. I've accepted the reality of my situation. Escape would be pointless. Even if I managed it, where would I go? The entire shinobi world wants me dead. As for the boy, he's surprisingly tolerable for someone who should be my enemy. Ibiki made notes. Several witnesses reported an incident in the market today. You addressed a hostile crowd. Why? Because hiding from their hatred accomplishes nothing. They deserve to confront me, and I deserve to face what I've done. That's a significant change from your initial attitude. Ibiki's eyes were sharp. 3 months ago, you refused to speak to anyone. Now you're making speeches about accountability. Why? Madara considered her answer carefully. The seal has given me perspective I lacked before. When you can feel someone else's emotions, when you're connected to their thoughts and dreams, it becomes harder to see people as abstractions. Naruto has forced me to confront the individual cost of my actions, whether I wanted to or not. And how do you feel about that? Uncomfortable. Angry sometimes. Guilty, which is a novel experience. Madara's jaw tightened. But also, necessary. If I'm to serve this sentence meaningfully rather than just marking time until death, I need to understand what I'm being rehabilitated from. Ibiki studied her for a long moment. Your psychological profile indicates genuine change. That's both encouraging and concerning. Concerning why? Because if you're genuinely changing, it means you're adapting. And you've always been exceptional at adapting to new situations, at finding ways to turn disadvantages into advantages. He leaned forward. How do I know this isn't manipulation? A long game to eventually regain freedom and power? You don't, Madara said bluntly. And I can't prove otherwise except through consistent action over time. But consider this, if I wanted to manipulate my way to freedom, wouldn't I be more overtly repentant, more eager to please? Instead, I'm honest about my conflicted feelings, about my ongoing struggles with the concepts you're trying to instill. A clever manipulation would include exactly that kind of apparent honesty. Then we're at an impasse. Either you believe I'm capable of change, or you believe I'm an irredeemable manipulator. Only time will prove which is true. Madara stood. Are we finished? For now. But Madara? Ibiki's voice stopped her at the door. I want to believe people can change. I've seen it happen. But I've also seen monsters hide behind masks of humanity. Don't make me regret giving you this chance. I make no promises except to continue trying. That's all I can offer. Outside, Naruto was pacing, his anxiety bleeding through the seal connection. He straightened when Madara emerged. How'd it go? Adequately. He suspects I'm manipulating everyone. Are you? Madara appreciated that he asked directly rather than dancing around it. No. But I understand why he thinks so. My entire life has been built on manipulation and long-term planning. Why should this be different? Because the seal won't let you fake it, Naruto said as they walked. I'd feel it if you were being dishonest about your intentions. The connection works both ways, remember? That's assuming I'm consciously aware of my own deceptions. The mind is skilled at justifying its actions, even to itself. Wow, that's dark. Naruto bumped her shoulder lightly with his. But also kind of insightful. You've really been thinking about this stuff, haven't you? I have little else to do besides think. And study seals with you. And endure your terrible taste in food. Hey, instant ramen is a perfectly valid dinner choice. It's compressed sadness in a cup. Naruto laughed, and despite herself, Madara felt her lips twitch. Their banter had evolved over the past months from hostile to something approaching friendly. It was strange how comfortable she'd become with his presence, how she'd started to anticipate their morning seal study sessions or evening conversations. Dangerous, that comfort. She couldn't afford to become dependent on anyone, least of all her guard. That evening, they had an unexpected visitor. Sasuke arrived just after dinner, his expression serious. "We need to talk," he said, glancing at Madara. "About the seal." They gathered in the study, seal diagrams spread across the table. Sasuke pulled out several new scrolls, his Sharingan already active. "I've made progress," he said. "The seal isn't just binding you two together. It's slowly synchronizing your chakra signatures. Over time, you're becoming more interconnected." "What does that mean?" Naruto asked. "It means the longer you're bound, the harder it will be to separate you. Eventually, it might become impossible." Sasuke pointed to a complex diagram. "The seal is adaptive. It's growing, strengthening, creating new pathways between your chakra networks." Madara leaned forward, studying the diagram with her Rinnegan. "You're right. I've felt the changes but couldn't identify the pattern. It's not just emotional connection anymore. Our chakra is beginning to resonate at the same frequency." "Is that dangerous?" Naruto asked. "Potentially. If one of you suffers severe chakra damage, it could feed back to the other. On the other hand, it might also allow you to share chakra techniques, even physical sensations more directly." Sasuke looked between them. "You need to decide if you want me to try to stop this progression or let it continue." "Can you stop it?" Madara asked. "Maybe. But it would be risky, and there's no guarantee I wouldn't damage you both in the process." Sasuke's expression was troubled. The seal is ancient and complex. Interfering with it could have unpredictable consequences. Naruto looked at Madara. "What do you think?" "I think we need more information before making that decision." "Sasuke, can you continue monitoring the progression without interfering?" "Yes, but you need to be aware. The deeper the synchronization, the more intertwined your lives become. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. You'll start sharing more than just feelings, memories, skills, possibly even aspects of personality." "We're already sharing memories sometimes," Naruto said. "It happens when emotions run high. That will intensify. Eventually, you might not be able to distinguish which memories are yours and which are hers." Sasuke closed the scroll. "I'm not trying to scare you, but you need to understand what you're potentially committing to." After Sasuke left, Madara and Naruto sat in silence, both processing the information. "That's kind of terrifying," Naruto said finally. "Agreed. But also, I don't know, maybe not entirely bad?" Naruto ran his hand through his hair. "I mean, we're already connected. Making it deeper might actually help us understand each other better. Or it could destroy our individual identities and create something neither of us wanted." "You're always so optimistic. One of us needs to be realistic." They fell quiet again, the weight of the decision hanging between them. Finally, Naruto spoke. "I don't think we should interfere with the seal. Not yet, anyway." Madara turned to look at him, surprised. "Why?" "Because trying to fight it might make things worse. And because..." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Because maybe this is how we're supposed to heal. Both of us. You're learning to be part of something again, and I'm learning to understand someone completely different from me. If we stop the progression, we might lose that. You're willing to risk your identity merging with mine? Are you really so terrible that merging with you would be a bad thing?" Naruto smiled slightly. "Yeah, you've done awful things. But you're also brilliant, strong, and you're trying to change. Those aren't bad qualities to share." Madara felt something warm unfurl in her chest, an emotion she didn't quite have a name for. "You continue to surprise me, Naruto Uzumaki. That's kind of my thing." He stood, stretching. "Come on, it's late. We can think about this more tomorrow." As they moved to their respective rooms, Madara paused. "Naruto? Yeah? If the seal does eventually merge aspects of our personalities, try not to let me make you cynical. And you try not to let me make you too optimistic." "Impossible. Your optimism is aggressively infectious." "I'll take that as a compliment." The next few weeks brought new challenges. The seal's synchronization was indeed progressing, and with it came increasingly vivid shared experiences. Naruto woke one night gasping, tears streaming down his face. He'd been dreaming, remembering, Madara's memory of holding Izuna as he died, feeling the life drain from his younger brother while unable to stop it. The grief was overwhelming, crushing, absolute. Through the wall, he felt Madara wake in response to his emotional spike. "I'm sorry," her thought came. "That memory shouldn't have transferred to you. It wasn't your fault," Naruto sent back, wiping his eyes. I understand now. Why you did everything. That pain, that loss, I get it. Understanding and excusing are different things. I know. But it helps me see you as a person, not just a villain." The next day, during their seal study session, Madara suddenly laughed. A real, genuine laugh that surprised both of them. Naruto had been demonstrating a technique, accidentally triggering one of his own memories. Sitting at a Chiraku with his teammates after their first successful mission, Sakura smiling, Kakashi pretending to read while actually watching them with pride. Everything perfect in that moment. "That's a good memory," Madara said, the echo of it still warm in her mind. "Yeah. One of my favorites." Naruto grinned. "See? Not all memories are painful, most of mine are. Then we'll have to make some better ones. Starting now." He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the door, ignoring her protests. They ended up at a Chiraku, and despite Tuchi's initial surprise at seeing Madara, the old man served them without comment. The ramen was as good as always, and watching Madara's grudging enjoyment of the meal added to Naruto's collection of good memories. "This is ridiculous," Madara said, but she was almost smiling. "This is living," Naruto corrected. "And you're getting better at it." They were interrupted by a commotion down the street. A group of merchants were arguing with some chunin, voices raised in anger. "Can't keep protecting her. She needs to face justice. The Hokage has made her decision. Madara Uchiha is serving her sentence under guard." "And what kind of sentence is that? Living in a nice house, walking around free, eating ramen?" One of the merchants pointed accusingly. "My wife died in the war. Where's the justice for her?" The argument was drawing a crowd, and Naruto could feel the mob mentality building. He stood, intending to defuse the situation, but Madara placed a hand on his arm. "Let me," she said quietly. She approached the group, her posture neither aggressive nor submissive. The crowd fell silent, hostile eyes tracking her every movement. "You want justice," Madara said, her voice carrying. "I understand that. What I did cannot be undone, and no punishment can truly balance the scales. Your loved ones are gone because of choices I made. So you admit you should die?" Someone shouted. "Perhaps. But death would be easy, an escape from accountability. What your council has demanded is far harder." She looked around at the assembled faces. "They've demanded I live, that I face the consequences of my actions every day, that I witness the pain I've caused and carry it with me. That I work to become something better than what I was. Fancy words won't bring back the dead. No. Nothing will. But I can ensure no one else dies from my failed vision. I can share the knowledge and skills I've accumulated over a century, use them to protect rather than destroy. I can, perhaps, do some small amount of good before my life ends, whenever and however that may be." The crowd was quieter now, uncertain. An elderly man stepped forward. Naruto recognized him as a retired jonin who'd fought in the Third War. "I knew your brother," the man said to Madara. "Izuna Uchiha. We crossed blades once, briefly, before the village was founded. He spared my life when he could have killed me, said the fighting needed to end, that there had been enough death." Madara's expression cracked slightly. "You knew Izuna?" "I did. He was honorable, brave, and far wiser than his years. He dreamed of peace." The old man's eyes were sad. "I wonder what he would think of what you became in his name." The words hit Madara like a physical blow. Through the seal, Naruto felt her anguish, sharp and piercing. She swayed slightly, and he moved to steady her. "He would be ashamed," Madara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Everything I did, I told myself it was for him, for the clan, for a better world. But truly? I was just angry, grieving, lost, and I made the entire world pay for my pain." The old man nodded slowly. "At least you can see that now. Perhaps there's hope for you yet. He turned to address the crowd. She's right. Death would be too easy. Let her live with what she's done. Let her try to be better. If she fails, if she proves unredeemable, then we can revisit the question of execution. But for now, let the process work. The crowd dispersed slowly, still grumbling but no longer calling for immediate blood. As they walked back to their house, Madara was silent, her emotional state turbulent through the seal. You okay? Naruto asked once they were home. That man knew Izuna. Spoke to him. Received mercy from him. Madara sat down heavily. My brother wanted peace. He died for that vision. And I spent decades perverting everything he stood for. You didn't pervert it. You just took a different path toward the same goal. A path that led to more death, more suffering, more of exactly what he wanted to end. Madara buried her face in her hands. How do I reconcile that? How do I live with being the opposite of everything he believed in? Naruto sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. By becoming who he would have wanted you to be. Not by dying, not by giving up, but by actually changing. By honoring his memory through actions, not just words. I don't know if I can. You already are. 3 months ago, you wouldn't have spoken to that crowd at all. Today, you stood there and took accountability. That's progress. It's not enough. It's a start. And starts are important. Naruto's voice was gentle. Izuna sounds like he was a good person. I wish I could have met him. Through the seal, he felt Madara's surprise, then a rush of affection for her long-dead brother. Without conscious decision, she began to share, not just telling Naruto about Izuna, but letting him experience her memories directly. Izuna as a child, laughing and challenging his older sister to training matches. Izuna growing into a skilled warrior, his Sharingan awakening during a battle that nearly killed them both. Izuna's face when their youngest brother died, the grief and determination mingling. Izuna's final moments, pressing his eyes into Madara's hands, making her promise to protect the clan no matter what. Naruto experienced it all, feeling Madara's love for her brother, her anguish at his death, her desperate need to make his sacrifice mean something. When the memory flow finally ceased, both of them were crying. He was incredible, Naruto said, wiping his eyes. I can see why you loved him so much. He was the best of us. And I failed him. No, you didn't. You lost your way, yeah, but you can find it again. He wouldn't want you to give up. He'd want you to keep trying, keep fighting, but for the right things this time. Madara looked at Naruto, this boy who had somehow become so important to her existence. The seal had bound them together, yes, but it was more than that now. He understood her in ways no one had since Hashirama, since Izuna. He saw her darkness and didn't turn away. He challenged her to be better while accepting where she was. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me. For believing I can be more than what I've been. She paused. For sharing the burden of my memories and my pain. That's what the seal is for, right? So we can share everything, the good and the bad. We're in this together. Naruto smiled. Besides, you're not the only one with painful memories. Fair's fair. Over the following days, they began to deliberately share memories rather than waiting for them to bleed through accidentally. Naruto showed Madara his childhood, the loneliness, the pranks for attention, the gradual building of connections with people who came to care about him. Madara shared fragments of the Warring States period, of battles and losses and brief moments of beauty between the violence. They were learning each other's histories, living each other's pain and joy. The seal's synchronization was accelerating, and with it came an intimacy neither had anticipated. One evening, Madara was preparing tea when she paused, looking at her hands with confusion. I just used the brewing method you prefer, not mine. I didn't consciously decide to. It just felt natural. The synchronization, Naruto said. Sasuke said we'd start adopting each other's habits and preferences. It's disconcerting, but not entirely bad, right? I mean, I've noticed I'm more patient lately, more strategic in my thinking. That's probably coming from you, and I've found myself being more spontaneous. Optimistic. Uncharacteristically trusting. Madara poured the tea with practiced grace. We're changing each other. Is that scary? Terrifying, she admitted. But also, interesting. I've spent so long being just myself, just my perspectives and pain and goals. Having someone else's experiences and emotions mixing with mine is disorienting, but it's also expanding my worldview in ways I didn't expect. Same here. I'm seeing things through your eyes sometimes. Centuries of experience, strategies I'd never have considered, ways of understanding chakra that are completely different from how I learned. Naruto accepted the tea. It's like having a really intense study partner living in my head. An intense study partner who tried to kill you several times. Details. They laughed together, a sound that would have been impossible months ago, and settled into comfortable silence, sipping tea and feeling the pulse of the seal connecting them, growing stronger with each passing day. Outside, night fell over Konoha. The village that had judged Madara, that still watched her with suspicion and anger, continued its life. But inside this small house on the outskirts, two people were slowly becoming something neither of them had anticipated. Not quite friends, not yet anything more, but undeniably connected. Learning each other's pasts, carrying each other's pain, and gradually, carefully, building something that might eventually be called trust. The synchronization continued. The memories blended. And day by day, Madara Uchiha, the legendary villain who had sought to trap the world in an illusion, was learning to live in reality instead. It was harder than any battle she'd ever fought. But for the first time in longer than she could remember, she was fighting for something worth keeping, her own redemption. And this strange, unexpected bond with a boy who refused to give up on her. 6 months into her sentence, Madara's life had developed a rhythm she never could have anticipated. Mornings began with meditation, followed by breakfast with Naruto, usually something he managed to burn slightly despite her increasingly exasperated attempts to teach him proper cooking techniques. Then came seal research, where their combined knowledge was yielding fascinating results about the nature of their binding. But today was different. Today marked the beginning of what Tsunade had called active rehabilitation, community service designed to integrate Madara back into society, while making tangible amends for her actions. You'll be working at the hospital, Tsunade explained in her office, Naruto standing beside Madara. Under strict supervision, you'll assist with basic tasks, cleaning, organizing supplies, helping transport patients. Nothing that requires chakra or gives you access to sensitive information. You want me to be a janitor, Madara said flatly. I want you to contribute something positive to the community you tried to destroy. Tsunade's eyes were hard. Consider yourself fortunate. Half the council wanted you breaking rocks in a quarry. When does she start? Naruto asked. Tomorrow. You'll accompany her, obviously. Shizen will be your direct supervisor. Tsunade pulled out a scroll. There are also classes you're required to attend. Ethics, village history from perspectives other than your own, basic psychology. Think of it as remedial education. Madara's pride bristled at the condescension, but she kept her expression neutral. Through the seal, Naruto felt her resentment, and gave her a subtle nudge of support. We'll be there, Naruto said. That evening, Madara was uncharacteristically quiet, staring out the window at the village lights. Naruto could feel her internal struggle through their connection, pride warring with pragmatism, resentment fighting against the genuine desire to change she'd been developing. Talk to me, he said, sitting beside her. I'm going to be mopping floors, Madara said, her voice tight. I, who once commanded armies, who reshaped battlefields with a thought, who stood as an equal to the god of shinobi. I'm going to be emptying bedpans and washing linens. Yeah, pretty much. You could at least pretend to be sympathetic. I am sympathetic. I also know that being angry about it isn't going to change anything. Naruto stretched. Look at it this way, you're learning humility. That's something you've been severely lacking for about a century. I don't need humility. I need— Madara stopped, frustrated. I don't even know what I need anymore. Purpose, Naruto said quietly. You've spent so long working toward one goal that without it you're lost. So we need to find you a new purpose, something meaningful. And you think mopping floors is meaningful? I think helping people is meaningful. Even in small ways. Yeah, cleaning isn't glamorous, but in a hospital? Clean floors save lives. Organized supplies mean faster treatment. You're not just doing menial labor, you're part of a system that heals people instead of hurting them. Madara wanted to argue, but through the seal, she felt his genuine belief in what he was saying. He truly saw value in the work, saw it as worthwhile and important. His perspective was bleeding into hers through their connection, making it harder to maintain her disdain. "You're manipulating me through the seal," she accused, though there was no real heat in it. "I'm just being honest about how I feel. You're the one experiencing my emotions because we're connected." "That's not manipulation, that's just how this works now. I preferred it when I couldn't feel your relentless optimism." "Liar. You like it, and damn him, he was right." She did. The constant gentle pressure of his positive outlook had become something she relied on, a counterweight to her own darker tendencies. The hospital was bustling when they arrived the next morning. Shizen met them at the entrance, her expression professional but wary. "Madara, you'll be working with Rin today," she said, gesturing to a young medical need with kind eyes. "Rin, this is your new assistant. Show her the basics: supply organization, cleaning protocols, patient transport procedures." Rin smiled nervously. "Hi. Follow me please." As they walked through the hospital corridors, Madara noticed how people reacted to her presence. Medical staff moved to the far side of hallways. Patients stared with expressions ranging from fear to outright hatred. One elderly man actually tried to get out of his bed to attack her before being restrained by nurses. "Murderer!" he screamed. "You killed my son!" "Monster!" Rin quickly ushered Madara past, apologizing. "I'm sorry about that. Hayato-san lost his son in the war. He's still processing his grief." "They all are," Madara said quietly. "And they have every right to their anger." They reached the supply room, a large space filled with medical equipment, medications, linens, and various tools. It was in complete disarray, clearly neglected during the recent influx of patients. "This needs to be completely reorganized," Rin explained. "Everything sorted by type and expiration date, shelves cleaned, inventory updated. It's been on our to-do list for months, but we've been too busy with patient care." Madara surveyed the chaos with her Rinnegan, immediately seeing optimal organization patterns, efficiency improvements, better spatial usage. "I'll need cleaning supplies, labels, and your current inventory system." "Oh, you're taking this seriously." Rin seemed surprised and pleased. "That's great. I'll get you everything you need." For the next several hours, Madara worked. She cleaned shelves, organized supplies with meticulous precision, created a new inventory system that would be easier to maintain. It was menial labor, far beneath her former station, but she found herself becoming absorbed in the task. There was something almost meditative about bringing order to chaos, about creating a system that would help others work more efficiently. Through the seal, she felt Naruto's presence. He was in another section of the hospital, helping move equipment. His emotional state was content, peaceful. He was happy doing simple physical labor because it helped people. That perspective filtered through their connection, coloring her own experience. "Wow, this is amazing," Rin exclaimed when she checked on Madara's progress. "You've reorganized everything so logically. It'll be so much easier to find things now." "Basic efficiency," Madara said, but she felt a small warmth at the genuine appreciation in Rin's voice. "Could you help me with something else? We have medications that need sorting. It's really important they're categorized correctly, but it takes forever." "Show me." They worked together for the rest of the afternoon, and Madara found herself listening as Rin talked about her work, her passion for healing, the satisfaction she found in helping people recover. It was so different from Madara's worldview. Rin saw individual lives as infinitely precious, each person worth saving, each small improvement a victory. "Why do you do this?" Madara asked during a brief break. "The work is exhausting, the pay is modest, and you see death regularly. Why dedicate your life to it?" Rin smiled. "Because every person I help means something. Every life saved, every pain eased, every family kept whole, it all matters. I can't fix the whole world, but I can fix this small part of it. And that's enough for you? It has to be, doesn't it? We can't all be legendary shinobi reshaping nations. Most of us just do our small part, and hope it adds up to something good." Rin paused. "Actually, you probably understand that better than anyone now. You tried to fix everything all at once with the infinite screamy, and look where that got you. Maybe the lesson is that real change happens in small steps. one person at a time. Madara was quiet, processing this perspective. Through the seal, she felt Naruto's agreement. He'd clearly been listening through their connection. She's right, you know, his thought came. Small steps add up. You're eavesdropping on my conversations now? Can't help it. The seal keeps getting stronger. Besides, you were having an important realization. Didn't want to miss it. Insufferable. You love it. Despite herself, Madara felt a smile tugging at her lips. She did. Somehow, impossibly, she'd come to appreciate his constant presence in her mind, his gentle corrections, his unwavering belief that she could be better. The afternoon brought a crisis. An emergency case arrived, a young genin who'd been caught in a training accident, his leg crushed by falling debris. The medical team rushed to prepare surgery while the boy screamed in pain. We need to move him to OR3, but the transport team is occupied. A nurse shouted. I can help, Madara said, stepping forward. The medical team hesitated, exchanging nervous glances. Letting Madara near an injured patient seemed risky, even with the chakra-suppressing seals. Please, the boy sensei begged. He's dying. Shizen made a quick decision. Madara, help move him. But Naruto goes with you, and one false move, I understand. Madara moved to the stretcher, taking position at the head while Naruto took the feet. They moved quickly but carefully, navigating the crowded hallways. The boy was crying, delirious with pain. It hurts, please, stay still, Madara commanded, her voice carrying authority even without chakra. You're going to surgery. The doctors will fix your leg. But you must remain calm or you'll make the injury worse. Something in her tone cut through the boy's panic. He looked up at her with wide, frightened eyes. You're Madara Uchiha. I am. You're going to kill me. No, Madara said firmly. Today, I'm helping save you. Stay still, breathe slowly, and trust the medical team. You'll survive this. They reached the operating room, and the medical team took over. As they prepared the boy for surgery, his sensei approached Madara, his expression complicated. Thank you, he said grudgingly. That was my student. He's important to me. I understand what it means to lose students, Madara replied quietly. I'm glad I could help preserve his life. The sensei studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly before turning back to wait outside the operating room. Later, after the surgery was successful and the boy was stable, Rin found Madara in the supply room. That was kind, what you did, Rin said. The way you calmed him down probably prevented him from going into shock. It was practical. Panic makes injuries worse. It was more than practical. You cared about whether he survived. Rin's smile was knowing. You can pretend to be cold all you want, but I saw your face. You were genuinely worried about that boy. Madara wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. She had been worried. The thought of that child dying, of his sensei's grief, of another life lost, it had bothered her in ways she wouldn't have expected 6 months ago. The seal is changing me, she said quietly. Making me more empathetic. Is that so bad? I don't know yet. That evening, as they walked home, Naruto was unusually quiet. Finally, he spoke. You were amazing today. With that kid, I transported an injured patient. Hardly heroic. You saved his life. If he'd gone into shock before they got him to surgery, he might not have made it. And you knew exactly what to say to calm him down. Naruto bumped her shoulder. You're a natural healer, in your own way. I'm a warrior. I've spent my life perfecting ways to end lives, not preserve them, maybe. But you're also incredibly skilled at reading people, understanding psychology, knowing what motivates others. That's exactly what healing requires, understanding the patient, knowing how to help them. Naruto's voice was warm with pride. You're finding your new purpose. I can feel it through the seal, and he was right. Madara could feel it too, a small sense of satisfaction from the day's work, from organizing chaos into order, from helping that boy survive. It was nothing like the grand purpose that had driven her for decades, but it was real and immediate, and somehow more fulfilling than she'd expected. I mopped floors and organized closets, she said, but there was less disdain in her voice than before. You help people. That's what matters. The rehabilitation classes started the following week. Madara sat in a small room with other special cases. Missing nin who'd been granted amnesty, former enemies who'd defected, people who needed re-education on village values and ethics. The instructor was a retired jonin named Kazuo, a man who'd lost his arm in the Third War but had found purpose in teaching. Ethics, he began, writing the word on the board. Can anyone define it? A former Kiri missing nin raised his hand. Rules about right and wrong? Close. Ethics is the systematic study of how we determine right and wrong, and why those determinations matter. Kazuo looked around the room, his eyes landing on Madara. Madara Uchiha, you attempted to cast the entire world into an illusion. By your ethical framework, was this right or wrong? Neither, Madara said. It was necessary. Interesting answer. Why was it necessary? Because the cycle of hatred is self-perpetuating. Violence breeds revenge, which breeds more violence. The only way to end it is to remove the possibility of conflict entirely. And the cost? The removal of human agency, choice, growth? An acceptable trade for permanent peace. Kazuo nodded thoughtfully. Now consider this, a parent who locks their child in a padded room to prevent them from ever being hurt. Is this ethical? Of course not, Madara said immediately. The child needs freedom to develop, to learn, to grow. But you just advocated for locking the entire world in a metaphorical padded room. The parallel hit Madara like a physical blow. Through the seal, Naruto felt her sudden cognitive dissonance, the uncomfortable realization that her logic was inconsistent. That's different, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Is it? You recognize that restricting a child's freedom, even for their safety, is harmful to their development. Yet you believed restricting everyone's freedom was acceptable. Why the contradiction? Because I was trying to prevent suffering, not enable growth. And what makes you think people would choose the absence of suffering over the opportunity for growth? Kazuo leaned against his desk. You made that decision for them. You decided that your judgment of what they needed was more valid than their own assessment. That's not enlightenment. That's tyranny dressed in compassionate language. The classroom was silent. The other students watched the exchange with fascination, perhaps sensing that this was more than just a theoretical discussion. I believed, Madara said slowly, working through her thoughts, that I knew better. That my experience, my wisdom, my perspective was superior. That I had earned the right to make decisions for others because I had suffered more, fought longer, understood deeper. And now I'm beginning to understand that suffering and experience don't grant one the right to control others. Madara's voice was quiet. They only grant perspective. What one does with that perspective is the true measure of wisdom. Kazuo smiled, a genuine expression of approval. That's growth. Remember it. The class continued, working through various ethical scenarios and frameworks. Madara found herself genuinely engaged, her considerable intellect turning to questions she'd never seriously considered before. When had the rights of the individual become less important than the collective? When had she decided that her judgment superseded everyone else's? Through the seal, Naruto felt her internal revolution. You okay? He thought at her. I'm questioning every decision I've made for the past century. Does that qualify as okay? It qualifies as progress. That evening, Madara couldn't settle. She paced their small house, her mind churning with uncomfortable realizations. I was wrong, she said abruptly. About everything. The infinite Tsukuyomi, the manipulation, the assumption that I knew best. I was catastrophically, fundamentally wrong. Naruto looked up from the seal diagram he was studying. Yeah? Is that all you have to say? Yeah? I just admitted to being wrong about my century-long crusade. I mean, I kind of figured you'd come to that conclusion eventually. The seal's been showing you different perspectives for months now. Naruto set aside his work. But I'm glad you're saying it out loud, admitting it to yourself. How do I make amends for that? How do I even begin to address the magnitude of harm I've caused? Madara's voice cracked slightly. I can mop floors and organize supplies and calm injured children. But that doesn't balance against the thousands of deaths I'm responsible for. It doesn't. And it never will. Naruto's honesty was gentle but unflinching. Some things can't be fixed or balanced or made right. All you can do is move forward differently. Try to add more good to the world than harm. and accept that forgiveness might never come. That's a bleak outlook coming from you. It's realistic. Not everyone you hurt will forgive you. Not every wrong can be righted. But that doesn't mean the effort isn't worthwhile. He stood, moving closer. You're doing the work. You're changing. That has value even if it never earns you redemption in others' eyes. Then why do it? If redemption is impossible, why try? Because it's the right thing to do. And because you're not the same person who started the war anymore. The seal, the time, the connection between us, it's all changed you. You're becoming someone new, someone who actually cares about individual lives and suffering. That person deserves the chance to exist, even if the old you doesn't deserve forgiveness. Madara sank onto the couch, exhausted by the emotional weight of the day. When did you become so wise? I've always been wise. People just mistook my wisdom for stupidity. Naruto grinned. Plus, I might be picking up some of your analytical skills through the seal. We're rubbing off on each other. A terrifying prospect. Maybe. Or maybe it's exactly what we both needed. Over the following weeks, Madara's rehabilitation continued. She worked at the hospital, attended her ethics classes, slowly integrated into the community service system. Each day brought new challenges, new realizations, new instances of facing the consequences of her actions. One afternoon, she was cleaning a hospital room when an elderly woman recognized her. You, the woman said, her voice trembling. You killed my grandson. He was only 19. Madara stopped, turning to face the woman fully. She didn't make excuses or look away. I did. Or my actions led to his death, which amounts to the same thing. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back. No. It doesn't. Nothing I say or do will undo that loss. Madara set down her cleaning supplies. But I want you to know that I see him now. Not as a statistic or an acceptable loss, but as a person, your grandson. Someone who mattered, who was loved, who had a future that I took away. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Why? Why did you do it? Because I was in pain, and I thought I could end all pain by trapping everyone in an illusion. I was wrong. Monumentally, catastrophically wrong. Madara's voice was steady, accepting. I can't give you your grandson back. But I can promise that I will spend whatever life I have left trying to prevent others from suffering the same losses. The woman stared at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. It's not forgiveness. I don't know if I can ever forgive you. But thank you for acknowledging him. For seeing him as real. He was real. They all were. That's something I'm finally understanding. After the woman left, Madara sat alone in the empty room, feeling the weight of the conversation. Through the seal, Naruto had experienced it all. That was brave, he thought at her. That was necessary. Still brave. Not running from the hard conversations, not making excuses. I'm proud of you. The warmth of his pride filtered through their connection, and Madara found herself holding onto it like a lifeline. His belief in her growth, his consistent support even when she struggled, it had become essential to her continued effort. She was changing. Genuinely, fundamentally changing. The legendary Madara Uchiha who had sought to reshape reality through force was becoming someone else. Someone smaller in scope but perhaps larger in impact. Someone who cleaned hospital rooms and organized supplies and listened to the grief of those she'd harmed. It was humbling. It was difficult. It was necessary. And for the first time in decades, Madara felt like she was moving towards something meaningful rather than running from something painful. That evening, she found Naruto in the kitchen attempting to make dinner, badly, as usual. Without a word, she took over, efficiently preparing a meal while he watched with amusement. You know, he said 6 months ago, if someone told me I'd be living with Madara Uchiha and watching her make me dinner, I'd have thought they were crazy. 6 months ago, if someone told me I'd be cooking for the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki in a tiny house on the edge of Konoha, I'd have assumed I was trapped in a genjutsu. And yet here we are, Madara agreed, and found that she didn't entirely hate the situation. In fact, as she served the food and they sat down to eat together, a domestic ritual they'd developed over months of cohabitation, she realized she was almost content. Not happy, not yet. The weight of her past was too heavy for happiness. But content. At peace with the present moment, if not with her history. Tomorrow, Naruto said, Tsunade wants us to help with a community reconstruction project. Some of the outer buildings still need repair from war damage. Manual labor? Yep. Hammering, painting, hauling materials. You up for it? Madara thought about it. 6 months ago, she would have been outraged at the suggestion. Now, after months of rehabilitation, after learning to find meaning in small acts of service, after slowly rebuilding her sense of purpose. Yes, she said. I'm up for it. Naruto's grin was bright enough to light the room. That's what I like to hear. We're making progress. We? Yeah. We. You're changing, but I'm changing too. Learning from you, growing from our connection. This isn't just your rehabilitation. It's both of us becoming better versions of ourselves. Through the seal, Madara felt the truth of his words. He was changing. More patient, more strategic, more aware of complexity and nuance. And she was changing too, more empathetic, more humble, more connected to others. They were becoming something new together. Not quite the people they'd been, but not entirely different either. A synthesis, perhaps. A merging of perspectives that created something neither could have achieved alone. It was strange. It was unexpected. It was uncomfortable. But it was also, Madara was beginning to realize, exactly what she needed. Redemption might be impossible, but growth was happening. Change was real. And for someone who'd spent decades trapped in rigid ideology, that flexibility was revolutionary. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not giving up on me. Even when it would have been easier to let the council execute me. Even when I was hostile and resistant, and convinced I was beyond redemption. Madara met his eyes. You saw something in me worth saving before I saw it in myself. That's what friends do, Naruto said simply. Friends. The word hung in the air between them, weighted with significance. Were they friends? Could a prisoner and guard be friends? Could someone responsible for countless deaths befriend one of her primary opponents? Through the seal, their emotions mingled, Naruto's genuine affection and belief, Madara's cautious hope and deep gratitude. The connection pulsed between them, stronger than ever, binding them together in ways that transcended simple friendship. Friends, Madara repeated, testing the word. I suppose we are, aren't we? Yeah. Weird, annoying, connected by ancient seal friends. But friends nonetheless. Madara found herself smiling, a real, genuine smile that felt foreign on her face but not entirely unwelcome. Perhaps redemption was impossible. Perhaps some of her victims would never forgive her. Perhaps she'd spend the rest of her life trying to make amends for sins that couldn't be balanced. But she had this strange friendship, this connection, this sense of purpose in small daily acts of service. She had someone who believed in her capacity for change, who supported her through the painful process of growth, who saw her as a person rather than just a legend or a monster. And for now, that was enough.